Hello, we are still talking about those number relationships between addition and subtraction in this lesson. We have done finding unknown numbers in addition sentences. You guys are very good at it. It's all about finding the sum, which is your big number, and then pulling out the small number so you can find out the other small number. Well, today we're going to do finding unknowns in subtraction. So we need to think about in subtraction, where do we find our big number? How can we use the relationship of our big number and one of the small numbers to find the missing number? All right, so I'm supposed to have some marbles in a cup, but because this is online, I had to do some pictures. So the problem that we're going to work on says Alexa has 12 marbles. She gives some marbles to her friend and now has 3 marbles. How many marbles does Alexa give her friend? So we have to figure out what this sum is, right? Not sum, S-U-M, the answer to an addition sentence. It's sum, like a number that we don't know. So here are the 12 marbles that Alexa starts with. Okay, and then the ones that she gave away, I put in a cup. And we need to figure out how many we gave away. So again, with subtraction, we always start with the big number. So here we have 12. We gave away some, we don't know how many, and then we're left with 3. So thinking about the relationship between these numbers, what could the subtraction sentence for this problem look like? There's a couple of different things we could do. Okay, we could do box for the unknown number. We could do 12 subtract box equals 3. That really doesn't help me out that much, right? And then I know some strategies that I could do to fix it and find out what the number is in the box. But I think this is much more helpful. I know how many I started out with, right? 12. And I know how many I end up with. If I pull out how many I end up with, that should tell me how many Alexa's friend got. So now I have a problem that I can solve. Okay, 12 subtract 3 equals what? 9. Okay, so Alexa gave her friend 9 marbles. Now, it says, how could we use addition to solve this problem? Because addition and subtraction are related. So, in addition, my big number always has to go at the end, right? It has to be my sum. So, 12. So, I could say box. What's the small number that we know in the original? 3. So I could say something plus 3 equals 12, put 3 in my head, count up to 12, and then get 9 that way. Okay, so it's all about using those number relationships. You're going to get the same answer any way you try to do these, as long as you remember the relationship between your big number and your small number. You got to figure out, am I looking for the biggest number? Am I looking for my answer? Or am I looking for another small number? So let's look at this. This one's trickier. I have box, subtract 8 equals 5. Now this is a subtraction problem, which means that my biggest number needs to go here. In subtraction, we always start with the biggest number. Well, I only know the 2 small numbers. How can I use the relationship between the 2 smaller numbers to figure out what goes there? Okay, I'm going to add these. 8 plus 5. Okay, and what is the sum of 8 plus 5? 13. There's my big number. That's what goes at the beginning. Now let's check it and see if it's reasonable. 13 subtract 8 equals 5. Yeah, that's reasonable. Okay, here's what I mean when I mean reasonable. Let's say I did this. Let's say I forgot. I saw a subtraction sign and I just wanted to say, Oh, I'm going to take my big number and subtract the small number. 8 minus 5 equals 3. Well, then if I put 3 in that box, 3 subtract 8 equals 5. Is that reasonable? No, that makes no sense. Right? You got to look at the problems once you've written them down and then figure out, does that look like it could be true? Okay, now I have my big number, which is 16. And I know one of the small numbers. So how can I use the relationship there to figure out the other small number? Okay, I can subtract. I can start with my big number. I can subtract my other small number, and that will give me the answer that goes there. Okay, so that's reasonable, right? I can also check. I can check with addition. I can put my two small numbers together, and that should equal my big number. 12 plus 4, 2 plus 4 is 6 plus 1, 1 plus nothing is 1, so 16. So that is reasonable. Uh-oh. Now I have box, subtract 3 equals 18. What number always has to come first when I'm subtracting? Right, the big number always has to come first. So how can I use the relationship between those two small numbers to get my big number? I'm going to let you think about that for a second. What should I do? Well, I'm going to combine these two, and that'll give me the biggest number to subtract from. So 18 plus 3. Okay, 8 plus 3 is 11. 10 or more, send them next door. 21 subtract 3 equals 18. Does that seem reasonable? Yes, 21 is my biggest number. I'm pulling out 3. Let's see, can I put 18 in my head and count up to 21? 18, 19, 20, 21. I got 3, so I'm right. Okay, let's try a few from your assignment, and then you can get started on your worksheet. So, let's remember in a subtraction number, the biggest number always comes first in a subtraction sentence. See, we have 10 subtract box equals 4. Okay, so there are a couple different ways that I can solve this problem. I can say, okay, well, I know my big number and one small number. So I can say, I can go 10 subtract 4, right? And that's 6. How else could I have done it? How could I do it with addition? I can put 4 in my head and count up to 6. 5, no, I said count up to 6. I mean 10. I can put 4 in my head and count up to 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then I got 6, which is exactly what I did here. 4 plus 6 equals 10. 10 subtract 6 equals 4. Notice in my subtraction sentence, big number goes first. In my addition sentence, the big number is the answer. Okay, so remember those number relationships. So now, let's jump in and solve one of these. So number 1, I have 15 subtract box equals 7. 15 is my big number. So I know my big number and one small number. What can I do? What's that? Okay, I can take my big number. I can subtract my one small number, and then that will tell me the other small number because addition and subtraction are related. Now, if I wanted to check it, which I do, I can look and see if I put these two numbers together right here, will that give me 15? 8 plus 7, does that equal 15? It sure does. Okay, so I can know that my answer there is correct. Uh-oh, we don't know the big number. It's a mystery. But we know both small numbers. How can we use the relationship between these to find the answer there? I'm going to have to put them together, right? I'm going to have to do an addition sentence. 7 plus 5 equals 12. Now let's look at this and see if it's reasonable. 12 subtract 7 equals 5. Yeah, that's reasonable. What if I had done 7 subtract 5 is 2, and I had 2 subtract 7 equals 5? Is that reasonable? No way. You can't do that. Let's look at the next one. I know my big number, 12, and I know one of the small numbers. How can I use my relationship between my big number and my small number? Right, I'm going to do a subtraction sentence. 12 subtract 8 equals 4. Now I'm going to look and see if this seems reasonable. If I put the two small numbers together and add them, would that equal 12? 4 plus 8? Oh, yeah, it does. Okay, obviously you don't have to check it, but it's really good practice, and it helps you remember those number relationships. Okay, so I have box minus 13 equals 1. So my big number is missing. So that means that this is a small number and this is a small number. How can I use those relationships to figure out my big number? Right, this one's easy. This one's just 13 plus 1 is 14. 14 minus 1 is 13, right? And I know that if I put 1 and 13 together, I do get 14, so my answer is reasonable. Now, I am so good at addition that I automatically know what goes in that box, but I'm going to pretend like I don't. So I know my big number, which is 18, and I know one of my small numbers. So I'm going to use that number relationship. I'm going to take my big number, pull out that small number, and that'll give me my other small number. So 18 subtract 9 is 9. Now what if, because I'm going to have somebody that does this, what if I have somebody that does 18 plus 9 is 27? Okay, so if I have 18 minus 27 equals 9, does that make sense? No, you can't have the biggest number in that box. That's what I mean when I say look at your number sentence and see if your answer is reasonable. So 16, the last one I'm going to do, 16, no, it's number 6, sorry. The last one I'm going to do with you. Okay, so I have box. Minus 3 equals 13. What number is missing? It's a subtraction sentence. The first number is always the biggest number, so I'm missing my biggest number. How can I use this number relationship to figure out the missing number? I'm going to put them together. 13 plus 3 equals 16. Now I'm going to read my subtraction sentence and see if it's reasonable. 16 subtract 3 equals 13. I believe I like it. Okay, so that's all you're going to do. You're probably going to need a piece of scratch paper. Think about those number relationships. If your big number is the one that's missing, you're going to have to put your two small number sets together to get the big number. If you have the big number, you can just subtract one of the small numbers and it will get you the small number. So think about how you can use those number relationships. May the force be with you.